Imagine a world where your main weapon isn't a gun but a smartphone, where a single tap can stop a train, cut the power in an entire block, or wipe someone's bank account. This isn't science fiction, it's Watch Dogs, a series that tried to rethink the open-world genre. But did it succeed? Let's find out. In 2014, Ubisoft released Watch Dogs, a game that seriously asked for the first time, what if an entire city became your weapon? Back then, it felt fresh and new, and players immediately dove into Chicago, a city literally breathing digital control. We play as Aiden Pearce, a hacker who becomes a vigilante after a personal tragedy. And here, the story isn't just about bullets and shootouts, it's about control. It all begins when, following one of his hacks, information about Dermot "Lucky" Quinn, the owner of the Chicago South Club and one of Watch Dogs' main antagonists, comes to light. Quinn hires a hitman, Maurice Vega, to kill Aiden, but instead of Aiden, his niece Lena ends up severely injured in a car ambush, and she dies later. This becomes a turning point in the hero's life. Aiden takes the blame for the girl's death and vows to find those responsible at any cost. Aiden can hack almost anything around him: traffic lights, surveillance cameras, ATMs, electronic locks, even public transportation. The game gives the feeling that every object in the city could be part of your strategy. Chicago feels like a living organism. Want to hide from the police? Raise a bridge so the patrol gets stuck on the other side. Want to set a trap? Lock enemies in a garage or cut the lights during their raid. This is what makes the gameplay unique. You're not just shooting, you're thinking. Of course, there's also classic action. Aiden is armed with rifles, pistols, grenades, and can fight head-on. But the most interesting part is choice, stealth, or open confrontation. Cameras help you scout areas and set digital traps, and if things go wrong, you can always draw a weapon and fight. Missions vary, but over time some feel repetitive: eavesdrop, hack, escape. Yet the story holds your attention through its characters. Besides the main antagonists, there are allies: Clara, who provides information, but later it becomes clear she has a much more complex role than just being an ally; T-Bone, a seasoned hacker who teaches tricks. The multiplayer in Watch Dogs was experimental and quite original. It included not only classic modes, but also unique hacker-based features. Players could invade others' games, trying to stay undetected while hacking. There were racing modes where the main weapon wasn't just speed, but hacks. You could blow up a transformer right in front of an opponent, or block their path with a traffic light. There was also co-op, allowing players to complete missions together. This truly set the game apart from competitors, though it didn't always run smoothly. Servers often lagged and hacking balance wasn't perfect. Here, the main strengths and weaknesses of the game become clear. The pros: unique hacking mechanics, an atmospheric city that feels alive and interactive, an engaging story with thought-provoking characters, and multiplayer that offered a new experience. The cons: some repetitive missions, gameplay balance between shooting and hacking not always perfect, and technical issues with online play. Despite its flaws, Watch Dogs left a mark. It launched a series that, with each installment, tried to refine the city as a weapon formula. Even if the first game had its shortcomings, it gave players a sense of control over an entire metropolis, which was truly unique. The game generated hype during announcements, but critics were slightly disappointed at release due to a somewhat weak story. Metacritic scored it between 80 and 82, depending on the platform. In 2016, Watch Dogs 2 was released, and it marked a sharp turn compared to the first game. If Watch Dogs gave us the dark, brooding Aiden Pearce, the second game opens up a completely different world. Vibrant San Francisco, freedom, humor, and new characters. Ubisoft seemed to have heard the criticism of the first game and aimed to make the story more lively and energetic. This time, the main protagonist is Marcus Holloway, a young and talented hacker. He joins DedSec, a group of activists fighting against corporations and the mass surveillance system ctOS 2.0. Unlike Aiden, who was driven by personal revenge, Marcus and his friends fight for a cause: exposing corporations that steal people's private data and turn citizens into products. The enemies here are major companies, corrupt politicians, and even startups that are everywhere in San Francisco. The atmosphere of the game is noticeably different. This is not no-wash Chicago, but a sunny, colorful city filled with street art, gadgets, and modern culture. The gameplay has evolved as well. Hacking has become more flexible and varied. Now you can not only hack cameras and traffic lights, but also remotely control drones and robotic vehicles. These gadgets completely change the playstyle. Missions can be completed almost entirely without setting foot on enemy territory, using only technology. Stealth has become more engaging, and creativity is rewarded more than in the first game. Of course, if you want action, it's still there. Shootouts haven't disappeared, though the focus has clearly shifted toward hacking. Car chases, parkour, and world interactivity all run much smoother. San Francisco really feels like a living city, filled with vibrant details, from Silicon Valley to the Golden Gate. Multiplayer in the second game was significantly upgraded. Players could spontaneously meet in the open world and either help each other with missions or get in each other's way. The invasion system from the first game remained but became more interesting. Now, it wasn't just about entering another player's game, it included full cooperative missions. Online races, drone competitions, and hacking challenges were also added. Overall, multiplayer felt lighter, more social, and more fun than in the first game. The main difference between Watch Dogs and Watch Dogs 2 lies in tone and presentation. If the first game was about personal drama and dark control over a city, the second is about freedom, youth protest, and using technology against the system. This immediately made the game more appealing to many players. Now, briefly, the pros and cons. Advantages: a vibrant open world, varied gameplay, freedom in hacking, and a real sense of teamwork. The atmosphere is lighter and more dynamic than in the first game, which positively affected the overall experience. Cons: the story sometimes feels too comic book-like and doesn't always have the depth that Ada's story had. Some missions feel repetitive, and not all players found the DedSec characters convincing. However, the key point is that Watch Dogs 2 really felt like a step forward. More possibilities, more freedom, and more life. This installment proved that the series could be not just a dark tale of revenge, but also a fun game about how a few hackers can challenge an entire system. Metacritic gave it a score of 82, reflecting generally positive reviews. In 2020, Watch Dogs Legion was released, becoming the most experimental game in the series. If the first game was Aiden's personal drama, and the second a youth protest in San Francisco, the third completely changes the rules. Now, there is no single main protagonist. The focus is on the entire city, and anyone can become part of the resistance. The events take place in near-future London. The city has turned into a digital prison. Albion, a private security company, takes control using a private army and total surveillance. At the same time, a mysterious hacker group called Zero Day emerges, carrying out terrorist attacks and framing DedSec, making them the public enemy. The player's task is to restore DedSec's reputation and uncover who is behind the chaos. The main feature of Legion is the recruitment system. You can recruit almost any NPC in the city: a street artist, a taxi driver, a surgeon, or even a grandmother. Each has unique abilities. One excels at drones, another is a hand-to-hand combat expert, and a third has access to restricted systems. This creates the feeling that London is your enormous arsenal. Hacking mechanics remain but have become even larger in scale. Now you can control not only cameras and traffic lights, but also cargo drones, combat robots, and even driverless cars. Stealth relies on gadgets and disguises, while in open combat, different types of operatives provide support. The atmosphere is different too. While San Francisco in the second game was sunny and light, London in Legion is darker, with dystopian undertones. The streets are filled with protests, surveillance drones, and total control. In this environment, DedSec tries to recruit a team and restore freedom to the people. Multiplayer didn't appear at launch, but once added, it allowed players to team up for cooperative missions, complete objectives together, and participate in large-scale operations. There were PvP arena modes, cooperative raids, and tasks requiring teamwork. It was interesting though, as in previous games, not always perfectly stable. As for differences, Legion stands out the most from its predecessors. There is no single protagonist with a personal story. Instead, it introduces the concept of anyone can be a hero. This is a bold decision. It gives players freedom but sacrifices the drama and emotional depth present in the first and second games. Now for the pros and cons. Advantages: a massive, detailed London, incredible character variety, freedom in tactical choices, and a cyberpunk dystopia atmosphere. Disadvantages: lack of a strong central character, repetitive missions, sometimes artificial recruitment, since not all NPCs are truly useful, and technical issues at launch. Watch Dogs Legion isn't a perfect game, but it is undoubtedly an experiment, showing how far the open-world concept can be pushed. Here, you feel like you're playing not just as one character, but as an entire city fighting the system. And this is what sets the third installment apart from all the previous ones. Metacritic gave it a score of 76, generally positive reviews.